बच्चे at first happy सी खुश सी I think more than 60-70% सोच सी भी easy class होगी, right? Easy credit होगा, right? So depend करता right teacher भी के किਵੇਂ पढ़ाਉਂਦਾ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ, right? जे teacher ਨੂੰ ਵਧੀਆ knowledge ਲਿਖਣੀ ਪੜ੍ਹਨੀ right ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਬੋਲਣੀ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਉਹ ਕਲਾਸ ਵਧੀਆ ਵੀ ਬਣਾ ਸਕਦੇ ਆ right ਐਡਵਾਂਸ ਵੀ ਬਣਾ ਸਕਦੇ ਆ ਜੇ ਟੀਚਰ ਹੀ ਥੋੜਾ ਜਿਹਾ ਲਿਮਿਟਡ ਆ right ਸੋ ਉਹ ਕਲਾਸ ਫਿਰ ਸੋ ਕਈ ਵਾਰੀ ਮੈਂ ਸੁਣਿਆ ਵਿੱਚ right ਕੰਪਲੇਨਾਂ ਆਈਆਂ right ਵੀ ਨਿਆਣੇ ਕਈ ਵਾਰੀ ਟੀਚਰ ਨਾਲੋਂ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਜਾਣਦੇ ਆ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਤੇ ਉਹ ਫਿਰ right ਨਿਆਣੇ ਸੋਚਿਆ ਉਹ it's an easy mark right ਤੇ ਇੰਨਾ ਵਾਲਾ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਫਿਰ ਨਿਆਣੋਂ ਫਾਇਦਾ ਵੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੁੰਦਾ but mainly right I think half, I think 50% think it's going to be an easy class, it's going to be an easy mark ਤਾਂ ਹੀ ਫਿਰ ਲੈਂਦੇ ਆ and then half right ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਆ right ਮੈਂ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਸਿੱਖਣੀ ਹੈ right ਜ਼ਰੂਰੀ ਮੈਂ right ਇਹ ਕੋਸ਼ਿਸ਼ ਕਰਨੀ ਹੈ right ਵੀ ਮੈਂ ਲਿਖਾਂ ਤੇ ਪੜ੍ਹਾਂ ਤੇ ਫਿਰ ਮੈਂ ਆਪਦੇ ਪਰਿਵਾਰ ਨਾਲ ਚੰਗੀ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਬੋਲਾਂ ਵਰਤਾਂ right so ਉਹ ਪੜ੍ਹਨਾ ਮੰਗਦੇ ਆ especially now right ਵੀ ਹੁਣ language 11 ਪੰਜਾਬੀ 11 right approve ਹੋਈ ਹੈ ਯੂਨੀਵਰਸਿਟੀ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਇਹ language use ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ ਹੋ right entry ਵਾਸਤੇ so ਕਾਫੀ ਨਿਆਣੇ ਫ੍ਰੈਂਚ ਤੋਂ right ਥੋੜੇ ਜਿਹੇ ਡਰਦੇ ਆ ਜਾਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਲੈਣੀ ਮੰਗਦੇ ਫ੍ਰੈਂਚ ਸੋ at least ਮੇਰੇ ਹਾਈ ਸਕੂਲ ਵਿੱਚ right ਉਹ ਥੋੜਾ ਜਿਹਾ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ right ਤਵੱਜੋ ਦਿੰਦੇ right ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਸਿੱਖੀਏ ਫ੍ਰੈਂਚ ਨਾਲੋਂ so and then once again depend ਕਰਦਾ right teacher ਕੇ ਜਾਂ right so ਜੇ teacher ਵਧੀਆ ਵਾ right friendly ਆ ਚੰਗੀ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਪੜ੍ਹਾਉਂਦਾ ਵਾ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਕਲਾਸ ਦੇ ਨੰਬਰ ਵੀ right ਹਾਇਰ ਹੋ ਜਾਣੇ ਆ ਹੋਰ ਨਿਆਣੇ ਨੂੰ ਮੰਗਣਾ right ਵੀ ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਕਲਾਸ ਵਿੱਚ ਆਈਏ so ਪਰ ਜੇ teacher ਮਾੜਾ right ਉਹੀ ਫਿਰ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਨੰਬਰ ਵੀ low ਹੋ ਜਾਂਦੇ right so I know ਮੈਂ up to now ਕਾਫੀ ਮੈਂ student right French program ਤੋਂ ਲੈ ਲਏ right ਜਿਹੜੇ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ French ਲੈਂਦੇ ਸੀ ਹੁਣ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਲੈਣ ਲੱਗ ਗਏ right I know the French teacher doesn't like me sometimes but that's the way it is right you have to promote your program I think ਪਹਿਲੇ 3 to 4 years ਮੇਰੇ ਕਲਾਸ ਵਿੱਚ 3 ਤੋਂ 4 Caucasian right ਜਿੰਨੇ Filipino ਵੀ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਸੀਗੇ in every class ਪਰ ਜਿਉਂ mainly ਜਿੱਥੇ ਮੈਂ ਪੜ੍ਹਾਉਣਾ right ਮੇਰੇ ਹਾਈ ਸਕੂਲ ਵਿੱਚ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਜਿਵੇਂ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਲੋਕ ਆਉਂਦੇ ਆ ਉਸ ਏਰੀਆ ਵਿੱਚ ਜਿੰਨੇ ਵੀ ਨਵੇਂ ਘਰ ਬਣਦੇ ਆ ਉਸ ਏਰੀਆ ਵਿੱਚ mainly ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਲੋਕ ਉਹ ਘਰਾਂ ਵਿੱਚ move ਹੁੰਦੇ ਆ ਸੋ ਉਹੀ ਫਿਰ right ਸਕੂਲ ਵਿੱਚ ਵੀ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਫਿਰ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਹੋ ਜਾਣੇ ਆ so it's mainly ਜਿਹੜਾ neighborhood ਦਾ right ਉਹੀ ਜਿਹਾ ਫਿਰ ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਸਕੂਲ ਹੋਣਾ ਵਾ demographic wise so ਹੁਣ the last 3-4 years right is mostly Punjabi students in my classes we'll see on ਜਿਹੜਾ ਮੈਂ ਨਵਾਂ ਸਕੂਲ ਜਿੱਥੇ ਮੈਂ ਪੜਾਉਣ ਲੱਗਣਾ ਵਾ as for senior secondary ਉੱਥੇ ਜਿਵੇਂ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ 20% ਹੀ ਹੈ right so I'm actually looking forward to the challenge ਵੀ ਹੋਰ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਬਿਨਾਂ ਤੋਂ right ਜਿਹੜੇ ਨਹੀਂ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ non ਪੰਜਾਬੀ student ਇਹ course ਲੈਣ right ਤੇ ਮੈਂ ਹੁਣ 4-5 ਸਾਲ UFE University of Israel ਵੀ ਪੜਾਇਆ right in the evening so undergrad students right so Punjabi 101 102 and even some second year level Punjabi mein padhai so I know right the benefits of teaching Punjabi to non-native Punjabi students right I think more of that should be done right so expand the language that way one ਜਿਹੜਾ benefit ਸੀਗਾ ਸਾਡੇ ਸਕੂਲ ਵਿੱਚ right middle school ਜਿਹੜਾ ਸਾਡਾ feeder school ਆ ਉੱਥੇ ਵੀ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਪੜਾਉਂਦੇ ਆ right in grade 6 7 and 8 right so ਕਾਫੀ student ਨੂੰ already basic ਜਿਵੇਂ alphabet right ਲਗਾ ਮਾਤਰਾ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਆਪਣੇ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਵਾਓ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਆ ਉਹ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ already ਪਤਾ ਸੀ right so basic story ਪੜ ਸਕਦੇ ਆ ਪਰ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਕਈ ਵਾਰੀ ਵਿੱਚ student ਜਿਹੜੇ grade 8 ਵਿੱਚ French ਲੈਂਦੇ ਸੀਗੇ ਤੇ ਹੁਣ high school ਵਿੱਚ ਆ ਕੇ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਲੈਣਾ ਮੰਗਦੇ ਆ ਉਹ obviously are beginners right so ਜਿਵੇਂ ਮੈਂ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ 9 class right ਅੱਧੀ beginner ਹੁੰਦੀ ਸੀ ਤੇ ਅੱਧੀ ਜਿਵੇਂ intermediate to advanced ਹੁੰਦੀ ਸੀ right so basically ਮੈਨੂੰ ਸ਼ੁਰੂ ਤੋਂ ਹੀ ਕੋਰਸ ਸ਼ੁਰੂ ਜਿਵੇਂ alphabet ਤੋਂ 35 ਤੋਂ ਹੀ ਸ਼ੁਰੂ ਕਰਨਾ ਪੈਂਦਾ ਸੀਗਾ ਕੋਰਸ right ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਜਿਹੜੇ beginner ਸੀ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਜਮਾਂ ਕੁਛ ਨਹੀਂ ਪਤਾ ਸੀਗਾ so so yeah, so that was one benefit, right? We kyunki jehda sort of middle school feeder school te bhi Punjabi ਪੜਾਉਂਦੇ ਆ, and in fact ਜਿਹੜੇ elementary school ਆ ਸਾਡੇ neighborhood ਵਿੱਚ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਉਹ middle school ਵਿੱਚ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਆ ਉੱਥੇ ਵੀ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਪੜਾਉਂਦੇ, right? So grade 4 5 ਜਿਹੜੇ 3 4 elementary school middle school ਨੂੰ feed ਕਰਦੇ ਉਹ ਵੀ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਪੜਾਉਂਦੇ, right? So our Punjabi program in that family of schools where I taught Arakan's in secondary is well established. During parent-teacher interviews, right, ਜਿਹੜੇ math teacher ਨਾਲ ਗੱਲ ਕਰਨਾ ਮੰਗਦੇ ਆ, right, ਉਹੀ parents, right, ਜਿੰਨੇ ਵੀ science math teacher ਨੂੰ ਜਾ ਕੇ ਮਿਲਦੇ ਆ ਉਨੀ ਮੇਰੇ ਕੋਲ ਵੀ ਮਿਲਣ ਆ ਜਾਂਦੇ, right, ਵੀ ਕਿਵੇਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਬੱਚਾ ਜਾਂ ਬੱਚੀ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਆ ਮੇਰੇ ਕਲਾਸ ਵਿੱਚ, right? So ਤਵੱਜੋ ਬਹੁਤ ਦਿੰਦੇ ਆ, right, parents ਵੀ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਨਿਆਣੇ, right, ਪੜ੍ਹ ਲਿਖ ਸਕਦੇ ਆ, right? So it's one of the reasons why right ਜਿੱਥੇ ਮੈਂ ਪੜਾਉਣਾ ਵਾ ਵੀ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਪ੍ਰੋਗਰਾਮ ਕਾਫੀ strong ਆ, right? ਕਿਉਂਕਿ parents ਦੀ support ਕਾਫੀ ਵਧੀਆ ਵਾ support, right? ਇਉਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਰਹਿਣ ਦਿਓ, right, French ਸਿੱਖੋ mainly ਉਹ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਆ, right, ਤੁਸੀਂ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਸਿੱਖੋ French ਰਹਿਣ ਦਿਓ, right? So that's what they're saying. So the support is good. Well, mainly being a public school, right? ਆਪਾਂ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਜਿਵੇਂ religion, right, Sikhism ਬਾਰੇ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਗੱਲ ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ, right? So even though ਮੈਂ ਥੋੜਾ ਜਿਹਾ, right, ਕਈ ਵਾਰੀ ਸਿਖਾ ਦਿੰਦਾ ਹੁੰਦਾ, like, you know, ਜਦੋਂ ਵਿਸਾਖੀ ਦੀ ਗੱਲ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਹੈ, right, we talk about the birth of Khalsa, right? So even though we're not supposed to do it, but I still kind of throw it in there a little bit, right? And then even during our Diwali unit, right, during our Diwali celebration, we kind of talk about how Diwali is related to Sikhism, right? So, you know, I kind of throw that in there a little bit. So mainly, but we cannot teach them about the gurus, right, or the Panj Pyare, right? So the religion part of it, we cannot bring into public school teaching, right? So, so I do a little bit of it, but not too much. Other than that, as long as, you know, like I said, the curriculum is still kind of vague, but it's gotten better. So, but you, right, as long as, you know, the curriculum basically says you need to hit these sort of competencies, right, with the students. It's kind of up to you how you're going to want to hit those, right? So there is sort of a lot of freedom for teachers how you want to complete those competencies, right? Like I said before, we do a film unit, right? And that's going to hit some of those, you know, oral competencies. And even they have to translate, right? They have to add subtitles, right, in those recording, right, in the Punjabi film. They have to add English subtitles, right? So there's that translation component that gets added in that, right? So so I think overall the BC curriculum, right, it kind of outlines what students need to learn by the end of the course, but there are a lot of freedoms how you can hit those competencies, right? How those students can learn those competencies. ਜਦੋਂ ਆਪਾਂ ਬੋਲਦੇ ਹਾਂ, ਰਾਈਟ, ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਕਾਫੀ ਜਿਵੇਂ ਆਪਾਂ ਸ਼ਾਰਟਕਟ ਬੋਲਦੇ ਹਾਂ, ਆਈ ਥਿੰਕ ਹਰੇਕ ਭਾਸ਼ਾ ਜੋ ਆਪਾਂ ਬੋਲਦੇ ਹਾਂ, ਰਾਈਟ, ਬੋਲਣ ਵਿੱਚ ਆਲਵੇਜ਼ ਸ਼ਾਰਟਕਟ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਆ, ਪਰ ਮੈਂ ਪੂਰਾ ਜਿਵੇਂ ਧਿਆਨ ਦਿੰਦਾ, ਰਾਈਟ, ਜਦੋਂ ਅਸੀਂ ਲਿਖਦੇ ਹਾਂ, ਰਾਈਟ, ਫੋਰ ਐਗਜ਼ਾਮਪਲ present tense ਜਾਂ past tense ਜਾਂ future tense ਵਿੱਚ, ਰਾਈਟ, ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਕਿਵੇਂ ਲਿਖਣੀ ਆ ਉਹ ਅਸੀਂ ਪੂਰਾ ਧਿਆਨ ਦਿੰਦੇ ਹਾਂ। ਸੋ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਲਿਖਾਈ ਵਿੱਚ, ਰਾਈਟ, ਪੂਰੀ ਜਿਵੇਂ ਗ੍ਰਾਮਰ ਵਾਈਜ਼ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਲਿਖਾਈ ਠੀਕ ਹੋਣੀ ਚਾਹੀਦੀ ਹੈ, ਰਾਈਟ। ਫੋਰ ਐਗਜ਼ਾਮਪਲ ਜਿਵੇਂ, ਰਾਈਟ, ਮੈਂ ਅੱਜ ਸਿਰ ਖਾਂਦਾ ਹਾਂ, right? So it should be ha, right? Because man our sentence shuru karna, right? Your auxiliary verb at the end needs to be ha, not ho, right? Because tusi is ho. So right, present tense, past tense, future tense ਵਿੱਚ ਆਪਾਂ ਪੂਰਾ ਮੈਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਸਿਖਾਉਣਾ, right, grammar wise ਵੀ ਕਿਵੇਂ ਲਿਖਣਾ ਵਾ, ਤੇ ਫਿਰ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਬੋਲਣ ਵਿੱਚ ਵੀ, right, ਅਸੀਂ ਜਦੋਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ dialogue, basically ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ dialogue assignment ਹੁੰਦੇ ਆ ਜਿੱਥੇ ਇੱਕ ਦੂਜੇ ਨਾਲ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਬੋਲਣਾ, right, ਉਦੋਂ ਵੀ, right, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ grammar wise, right, ਸਹੀ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਬੋਲਣਾ ਆਪਦੇ dialogue ਵਿੱਚ, ਨਹੀਂ ਤਾਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ mark off ਹੋ ਜਾਣੇ ਆ। So I think force ਕਰਨਾ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ, right, to be present, past, future ਵੀ ਕਿਵੇਂ proper ਲਿਖੀ ਦੀ ਹੈ, ਤੇ ਫਿਰ ਜਦੋਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ dialogue ਕਰਨੇ ਆ ਜੋ ਬੋਲਣਾ, right, ਉਦੋਂ ਵੀ, right, ਉਹ ਸਹੀ ਬੋਲਣ। So hopefully, right, a repetition or not, right, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ regular ਬੋਲਣੀ, right, ਉਹ ਵੀ, right, ਫਿਰ ਠੀਕ ਹੋ ਸਕਦੀ ਹੈ. But like I said, ਜੋ ਆਪਾਂ ਬੋਲਦੇ ਹਾਂ, right, it's always shortcut, right, it's never grammar wise proper, right, so ਉਹ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਲੱਗਦਾ ਰਹਿਣੀ ਆ, but hopefully ਵੀ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਕੋਲ knowledge ਹੈਗੀ ਹੈ, right, ਵੀ properly ਕਿਵੇਂ ਲਿਖਣਾ ਤੇ ਬੋਲਣਾ ਚਾਹੀਦਾ ਵਾ. I think most of the senior classes, grade 11 and 12, understand, right, that, you know, these singers basically want to sell their songs, right? They want to become popular, and they have to sing on those topics, right? So I said basically, you know, it's all for show, right? And we shouldn't be following their lyrics. And then I've actually shown a few interviews by some of these singers who personally have said that, right, that they shouldn't really follow our lyrics, right? We don't really mean it. This is sort of our way to sell records, to make us ourselves popular, make our song popular. We sort of need to go that way, right? So don't follow these lyrics, right? And we have this debate all the time, right? And I think most students in the high school kind of understand that, right? I mean, it's true with rap music as well, right? I mean, they can sort of, you know, they can differentiate, I guess you can say, between, you know, that, you know, these lyrics are just for money, right? It's not real, right? I think they understand. I think majority of the students kind of, I think, forget, right, how to read and write. I talk to some of them. I run into some of them sometimes at the mall, whatever, right? You know, 2-3 years removed from high school, which is sort of a sad thing, right? I personally think about, you know, 80 to 90% of them just kind of sometimes forget how to read and write, because, you know, it's any language, right? If you're not going to use it, you're gonna lose it very quickly. Which is sort of unfortunate, right? And it's sort of, I guess, the parents' fault as well, right? And it's my fault. Like, you know, I always tell my wife, right? I mean, we're being second generation now. We're always comfortable speaking in English at home, right? And it doesn't help our kids. Even though my kids know how to read and write, and they don't have Punjabi in their school, being in Langley, they know how to read and write Punjabi. Their speaking is not the greatest. They know how to read and write because I've taught them here at home, but their speaking is not the greatest, right? Which, once again, is my fault, right? Because the wife and I are always speaking English at home. So I think it's sort of the fault of the parents as well, as second, third generation parents are more comfortable speaking English at home, right, amongst each other. And then sometimes it sort of, I kind of get mad, or I shouldn't say get mad. It just kind of upsets me at times when even parents that do know Punjabi well, they sort of want to speak that broken English, right? And they think, oh, speaking Punjabi is not cool, right? I want to be cool with my kids, and so I'll just speak broken English with them instead of speaking Thet Punjabi with them, right? Which I think is kind of wrong, right? It kind of does upset me a little bit, right? And I've dealt with sort of parents like that, right? I'm like, instead of speaking that broken English, just speak Punjabi with them. There are also parents that support the language quite a bit too, right? Like, we have Gurmit Center in Abbotsford, which is run out of Kangitar Gurdwara, right, in Abbotsford. And so they basically teach Punjabi, and they also hit this the religious part of it too, right? They do Sikh studies as well. And so parents force, well, I'm not going to say force, but I think students are willing to go to Gurmit Center as well. I mean, they have summer camps and they're doing a great job, right? So there are parents that support the language as well, right? But then, like I said before, then there's some parents that they sort of want to be English, right? They want to be Western, right? They themselves, they want to speak Punjabi, right? So they would rather speak English with their kids. They want to be cool with their kids, right? And they're not helping their kids that way, right? Like I said before, the more languages you know, the better you're going to be off later on in the future. Yeah, in India, I guess, like mainstream TV, mainstream movies, shows are all in Hindi, right? So I guess even though now, the Punjabi, I know Punjabi movies used to be really bad. Everyone used to watch Hindi movies about 20, 15 years ago. But I think now the Punjabi movies have gotten better too. But that's the reason I think, right? I think a lot of the mainstream shows that are in India are in Hindi. So that's why everyone sort of wants to speak Hindi, right? And forget about Punjabi. I think it's made quite a bit of progress, right? I think a lot of talking to some of my students. Sometimes, they employers prefer that they know Punjabi, right? And sometimes they have the upper hand when they do hire them. Um, you see signage around certain cities, right? And that are in Punjabi. I think most of the important information that's put out by the government, right? The government of BC, they usually have it in Punjabi and Mandarin, right? So I mean, that's a plus. Um, they try to, I think, even like I said before, they try to hire Punjabi speaking people, like even in banks, right? So there's usually someone who could speak Punjabi, right? If translation is needed. Um, so I think access right to Punjabi when it comes to services, right? So people that are limited in English has gone a lot better since I started teaching, right? So yeah, I think it's gone better in the lower mainland especially. I think so. I feel the government is doing its part. It's sort of, once again, sometimes families are sort of reluctant, right? I think the government has opened the doors. Personally, I think they have, right? They've allowed Punjabi in public schools. They're sort of pushing it. Um, it's really on the parents, as a Punjabi community in general, to sort of pick up their game, I guess, right? Follow their lead. Um, I think a lot of elected officials are Punjabi now, right, provincially and sort of in the Canadian right legislature. So that helps as well. But I think they've done a good job, right? So I personally think I've got no complaints with what the government has done, right? I think they've supported the language well. The Punjabi programs are well funded. It's just like any other course, right? As long as you have enough students in your class, right, to run the course, there's sort of a cutoff point, right, where the school can afford to run the course, right? So long as you get the minimum number of students signing up for your class, you're going to be properly funded like any other course, right? Like a math or science course. So yeah, there's really no need for fundraising. It's just you just need students who are interested and push from the parents that yes, we want Punjabi in our local high school, and then they can bring in an instructor, and then it just goes from there, right? So it's basically the interest from the community, right? And the funding comes automatic. Yeah, there's no need for fundraising. I've never fundraised for any Punjabi program. It's mainly if we have the numbers, it's going to be a goal. So that's what's happening at the school where I'm starting Punjabi now, right? Is basically the principal wanted Punjabi in his school, right? There was interest from the students who wanted to take the course, and he basically said, yeah, hey, I'm finding a teacher. I'm going to get Punjabi started in my school. And that's how it happens. You don't need to fundraise. ਨਸਲਵਾਦੀ ਤਾਂ ਮੈਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਦੇਖੀ, ਰਾਈਟ? ਜਦੋਂ ਮੈਂ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਸ਼ੁਰੂ ਪੜ੍ਹਾਉਣੀ ਕੀਤੀ ਆ, ਮੈਂ ਜਿਵੇਂ ਜਿਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਕੋਚ ਵੀ ਕਰਦਾ ਵਾਂ ਬਾਸਕਟਬਾਲ, ਆਲਮੋਸਟ ਐਵਰੀ ਈਅਰ ਮੈਂ ਕੋਚ ਕਰਦਾ ਵਾਂ. So mainly, I guess ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕਹਿ ਸਕਦੇ ਹਾਂ, one of the popular teachers in the school, right? So students ਮੇਰੀ ਕਲਾਸ ਵਿੱਚ ਆਉਣਾ ਮੰਗਦੇ ਸੀਗੇ. So basically, ਮੈਂ ਕੁਛ ਦੇਖਿਆ ਨਹੀਂ from students or the staff. Other mushkil siga mainly resources ਇਕੱਠੇ ਕਰਨੇ, right? So mainly program ਨਵਾਂ ਸ਼ੁਰੂ ਕਰਨਾ, ਪਹਿਲੀ ਵਾਰੀ high school ਵਿੱਚ ਪੜ੍ਹਾਈ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਪੜ੍ਹਾਉਣੀ, ਆਪਣੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ministry of education curriculum ਉਹ ਵੀ ਬਹੁਤ right ਘੱਟ ਸੀ, vague ਸੀਗਾ, right? ਹੁਣ ਥੋੜਾ ਜਿਹਾ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਵਧੀਆ develop ਕਰਤਾ, right? ਵੀ ਕੀ ਪੜ੍ਹਾਉਣਾ ਚਾਹੀਦਾ ਹਰੇਕ level ਵਿੱਚ. पर उस टाइम राइट ना बड़ा वधिया भी है नहीं सीगा राइट ਜਿਹੜੇ ਅਸੀਂ curriculum ਦੇਖ ਸਕਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਰਾइट ਵੀ ਕੀ ਅਸੀਂ ਸਟੂਡੈਂਟ ਪੜ੍ਹਾਈਏ ਤੇ so mainly resources ਇਕੱਠੇ ਕਰਨੇ ਰਾइट ਉਸ ਟਾਈਮ ਥੋੜੇ ਜਿਹੇ ਸਕੂਲ ਸੀਗੇ ਸਰੀ ਵਿੱਚ ਜਦੋਂ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਪੜ੍ਹਾਉਂਦੇ ਸੀਗੇ ਰਾइट so ਮੈਂ 2004 ਵਿੱਚ ਪੜ੍ਹਾਉਣ ਲੱਗਿਆ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਐਸ ਵਿੱਚ ਸੋ ਸੀਗੇ ਰਾइट 3-4 ਹਾਈ ਸਕੂਲ ਸਰੀ ਵਿੱਚ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਪੜ੍ਹਾਉਂਦੇ ਸੀਗੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਉਹ ਵੀ ਇਹੀ ਕੰਪਲੇਨ ਕਰਦੇ ਸੀ ਰਾइट ਰਿਸੋਰਸਸ ਥੋੜੇ ਜਿਹੇ ਘੱਟ ਆ ਰਾइट ਤੇ ਤਰੀਕਾ ਪੜ੍ਹਾਉਣ ਦਾ ਰਾइट ਵੀ ਕਿਵੇਂ ਨਿਆਣਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਪੜ੍ਹਾਈਏ ਰਾइट ਉਹ ਵੀ ਥੋੜਾ ਜਿਹਾ ਰਾइट ਉਸ ਟੀਚਰ ਨੂੰ ਨਹੀਂ ਪਤਾ ਸੀ ਤੇ ਆਬਵੀਅਸਲੀ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਵੀ ਥੋੜਾ ਜਿਹਾ ਘੱਟ ਪਤਾ ਸੀਗਾ ਈਵਨ ਤੋਂ ਮੈਂ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਸਕੂਲ ਗਿਆ ਸੀ ਸੋ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਥੋੜਾ ਜਿਹਾ ਆਈਡੀਆ ਸੀਗਾ ਰਾइट ਵੀ ਕਿਵੇਂ ਪੜ੍ਹਾਉਣਾ ਨਿਆਣਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਪਰ ਮੇਨਲੀ ਰਿਸੋਰਸਸ ਰਾइट ਉਹ ਬਹੁਤ ਘੱਟ ਸੀ ਉਸ ਟਾਈਮ ਜਦੋਂ ਮੈਂ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਪੜ੍ਹਾਉਣੀ ਸ਼ੁਰੂ ਕੀਤੀ ਆ never really heard anything negative from my colleagues, right? They do question me at times, right? Like, is this like an easy credit for them, right? Like, is this like, why are Punjabi students taking Punjabi courses, right? And then I always have to tell them that most of these students do not know how to read and write, and even their oral skills are pretty poor. So it's not like it's an easy credit for them, right? So they kind of sometimes not all, a few have always posed that question, right? I think it's an easy credit for these students, right? Why are they taking your Punjabi class? They should be non-Punjabis taking your class. And I also have to explain to them that yeah, I mean, it's they know how to read and write. Their parents are always speaking English with them at home, so even their oral skills or speaking skills are bad, right? So their parents basically don't want them to lose their language, right? They lose their culture, so that their parents want them to take this course. So that's the only thing I've been kind of questioned about at times with some of the colleagues, right? So at my school, yes, because we have a Vaisakhi show every year, right, which is huge in the community. So it's all basically a student run, right? So we have various, it's a huge Vaisakhi show. We usually have about 800 people show up. It's been documented on some of the Punjabi news outlets, right? Omni's been there a few times and they've covered it. So it's all organized by students, right? So they have to run everything. So it's just various acts. Usually one of the acts is where the grads do their fashion show, right? They dress up in their saris and stuff like that, right? So they do a Punjabi fashion show, skits, right? Dancing. Community groups come in and do their acts as well, right? Various community groups. So it's a huge Vaisakhi show that we run almost every. Last year it was canceled because of COVID, but we've been running it for the last 15 years at our school, and it's quite popular, right? So it's all student-led, so students do get involved in the community through the Punjabi program. And then we do a Diwali celebration as well, where we serve Punjabi food right at lunchtime on Diwali day, and everyone is encouraged to dress up. So everyone is usually dressed up on Diwali day and on Vaisakhi. Everyone is dressed up as well. So the culture, right, is sort of the Punjabi culture is quite strong in the community and at my school, or I should say at my old school now. Hopefully I can get it started at the new school. I really haven't. I know UFE's got Punjabi courses, right, which they can take. Obviously, you would need some sort of background, right, where you know the proper grammar, right, how to teach grammar-wise properly. UBC has some Punjabi courses. You might know more than me in some of the post-secondary institutions that teach Punjabi. Just off top of my head, I think it's Kwantlen, right? UFV and UBC. Then SFU might have a few courses. But I think, yeah, and then maybe go find out which Gurdwaras, teach Punjabi, because those Gurdwara Punjabi classes are actually really good, because usually they're taught by volunteer teachers who've taught Punjabi in India, and so they're very good, right? Knowledgeable, right? They know how to teach Punjabi properly. So I mean, that's sort of, I think, the best way, right? Either I think start off taking Punjabi. I think would be my best advice is see if you can learn Punjabi at a local Gurdwara, right? And then obviously take Punjabi courses in a high school if you have Punjabi in a high school, and then try to find a post-secondary that teaches some Punjabi, right? And try taking all those courses that are available. And then now, like I said, social media is also is great too now, right? With I mean, there's tons of YouTube videos that teach you how to say the painti, right? It teaches you some of the basic stuff. And there's so many apps, like I said before, right? And that you can sort of learn on your own as well. I'm pretty sure there's some YouTube videos where teach you some basic skills of Punjabi, which you can sort of look at, right? So I think that'd be my advice. But once again, I think that's what we're lacking is sort of lack of Punjabi teachers, right? We just need to find more Punjabi teachers, confident Punjabi teachers, right? Not just yeah, I can teach Punjabi, but really don't know much. We need good, qualified, competent teachers. I think we would have Punjabi in more high schools, and which will be benefit to everyone overall, right, in the Lower Mainland. Sometimes, I think those teachers sort of teach in a certain way where sort of the Canadian students might not like their teaching methods, right? So they do probably need to become certified, right? Take the training, right? Sort of the better practices. Obviously, they do have the knowledge, right? It's just the way they teach. Sometimes the Canadian students don't like it, right? And then also, we could use their help, right? I mean, we could possibly, maybe fund some of their training to become certified. Maybe that more than would take that route and get into the public system. Yeah, I know many of those teachers like teach at private schools, right? Like at Khalsa School. We could use them, right? So maybe funding their training maybe will motivate them, right, to get that training and get certified so they can teach in the public system. I know in the past, there's been shop teachers that don't have a teaching degree, but they sort of teach on letter of permission, right, and then they can sort of do their certifying or their teaching training later at a later date, right? So when you're sort of in a bind, I guess you can, right? But it definitely could help. But I think they do need to be certified, and we can help with the funding, possibly, maybe. But I think I've had issues where the Canadian students usually don't like the way they teach, right? There's sort of a method of getting to the Canadian students the way they want to be taught.